Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and what I'm going to do today is give a brief walking tour of downtown Gettysburg. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania was first settled in the late 1700s, around 1780. It was incorporated, I believe, in 1805. We are in the town square known as Lincoln Square, sometimes called the Circle, or by locals the Diamond. This would have been the location of the original courthouse. Gettysburg is the Adams County seat. It was named after bar owner Samuel and his son James Gettys. And what I'm going to do is from the square here, walk 2 blocks in each of the 4 directions and see what is here. I'm going to start by going east. And we see the sign talking about the original courthouse. James Gettys is the man who partitioned the land off into lots. My understanding is they were looking for a county seat and they needed a place that would allow room for a courthouse and a jail, and Gettysburg had it. All right, we are heading east. This is York Street. This is part of the hotel, which was at my back as I started the tour. I'll get to that later. Art gallery. What has happened over the years with the town of Gettysburg, I was an alumnus, I am an alumnus, I should say, the college. I was a student here 40 years ago. 40 years ago, the downtown was much like any downtown. You had, clothing stores, drug stores. This was a drug store. When I started college here. Of course, you had the hotel, you had restaurants, but you had what you might find in any small town. More and more, they are returning many of the facades of buildings that were here at the time of the battle, and you will see a plaque like this of any building that was around at the time of the Battle of Gettysburg. And again, they're turning the facades into more what they may have looked like at the time of the battle, and also you have more and more tourist and history related businesses. And as I head east, the reason I mention this here is because when we get to the end of our 2 blocks and what is beyond that to the east is what you might find the locals requiring: chain restaurants, the Walmart, the convenience stores, grocery stores, and that sort of thing, in place of what used to be in the downtown area. I won't stop and look at all of them, but as you walk through town, there are plenty of placards of historical significance, in addition to the Civil War building plates that talk about what was here at the time of the Battle of Gettysburg. There's a restaurant in Gettysburg called Gettysburg Eddie's, and it was named after Eddie Plank, a professional baseball player from Gettysburg. This was his car dealership at one time. I know I said I would go 2 blocks, but I'm going to turn around here shortly because basically, again, as we head east, there's going to be a split. York Street to the left, Route 30, Hanover Street to the right, and it's mostly residential from this point out until we get to the local business section with the Walmart and the grocery stores and so forth. Across the street, I'm at St. James Lutheran Church, which is at the intersection of York and Stratton Streets. And we're heading back toward Lincoln Square, now heading west. Community theater. Businesses do kind of come and go over the years. Upper Crust is an interesting restaurant. These what look to be windows open up so that if you're sitting at these booths on the edge, you're looking out open into the street. Also, and I intend to review this restaurant sometime soon, but I understand there's like a game room inside as well. Burrow Barbecue and Lulu's Ice Cream. And this building used to have, and I see it's still there. If you just look above the row of bricks, there's a cannonball. Just over the eye, an ice cream, and right under the window, there's a cannonball in the bricks. Next up, the James Wills house. James Wills was a Gettysburg attorney who invited President Lincoln to make, quote unquote, a few brief remarks at the dedication of the cemetery, and those remarks turned into the famous Gettysburg Address. This is the home of David Wills. This is where Lincoln spent the night when he delivered the Gettysburg Address. Again, things have changed. When I was a student here, there was a Lincoln Room in this building, but the building was a Ray and Derrick drugstore, which extended into the Masonic building, which is now Ghost Tours. Ghost Tours became big business starting in the 1990s. Very well known statues of Abe Lincoln and Perry Como. I'm going to head north next. Here we have the Gettysburg Hotel. It says founded in 1797. There has been some sort of a hotel on this spot since 1797. Not this particular building. This particular building, I'm not sure what year it was originally built. It was in prominence in the 1950s and beyond with the Eisenhower administration hosting dinners and so forth here. I believe it was February of 1983, the building burnt, and it was pretty much completely gutted, and it remained that way. And this corner of the square was basically boarded up. You couldn't even walk on the sidewalk for the remainder of the 80s until 1990s, when the building was purchased by and is now owned by Gettysburg College, and it was renovated. It was originally, I remember it as a 3-story building. Now some additional floors have been added. Okay, now we're going to head north. As we go north, once we get past the hotel, the next thing you will want to notice is the Majestic Theater, which is both a theater. I mean, it was a movie theater in my day. It still is, as far as I know. I think they still show movies, but they also have live performances. This also is owned by the college. I was a music major in the college, and my understanding is that the band now rehearses here, and the music department uses this building quite a bit. Next up, as we approach the end of the first block on Railroad Street, is the train station. This is the train station at which Abraham Lincoln arrived in town November of 1863 to speak at the dedication of the cemetery. As we head north, we're having more areas that are residential, some businesses, and more of the square of Lincoln Square North, more and more of it as the time goes by is owned by the college. we approach here on the right, we have what was many years ago a motel. It is student housing, again, of Gettysburg College. Although there's construction going on now, this is not a recent purchase. The college has been using this as housing for quite some time. You can see the college placard, Colonial Hall. And as we approach Water Street, I'm going to turn around. North is Gettysburg College. As we go north and west, that direction beyond the college, you'll have Oak Hill and the Eternal Peace Light and many of the features of day one of the battle. For instance, the railroad cut. Okay, turning around, we're heading now back west toward the square. A couple of businesses and an apartment building in this block. Some apartments. They list this as luxury apartments. This, incidentally, what reminded me is the name of the apartments. This is Carlisle Street. Housing is expensive in Gettysburg, whether you want to buy or rent. It's a desirable place to live. And of course, when places are desirable, you gotta pay. Okay, as we get back beyond the railroad tracks, we have the Lincoln Diner. My opinion, the best breakfast in Gettysburg, but all their food's good. Used to be a 24-hour diner. As a college student many years ago, I most often visited this place between midnight and 3 a.m. It is no longer 24 hours, still good food. It was opened in the 50s as the Varsity Diner and then later became the Lincoln Diner. It has an added on back dining room. Times Square building, which used to be the building of the newspaper, the Gettysburg Times, which is now in a different part of town. So it looks like they just use this for various offices. Here on the corner is the pub restaurant, very popular eatery and bar in town. At some point, I can't remember the year, this burned as well, and they did a good job of pretty much reconstructing it as it was before the fire. Back at the square, and now we are going to head west. Alrighty, as we head west, this is Chambersburg Street. It is also US Route 30 West. Businesses, this is a new one. Once again, a lot of businesses, in my opinion, kind of targeted towards tourists. Of course, restaurants. This was always, to my knowledge, known as the James Geddes Hotel. There's the historical plaque. Looks like it has a new name, the Union Hotel. Large lot on which the 7-Eleven store now sits. There was at one time a large hotel that had been a favorite among veterans of the battle who revisited the town. Down this way is the college. And as we get farther from Lincoln Square, again in this direction, you have more and more residences and fewer businesses. Although as I head farther out here, there are more attractions, which I'll talk about before I turn around. Try to get across the street here, and as I look to the west, the street splits. At the split is a building that was known as the Meade School, named after George Gordon Meade, the Union commando during the Battle of Gettysburg. It was at one time served as at one time as a Gettysburg High School, and it went through a number of different daycare. I'm stalling here because there's tremendous traffic in Gettysburg, and I don't know when I'm ever going to get across this street. Anyhow, now it's called the Federal Point Inn. As we go beyond that to the west, you'll have the seminary, the Gettysburg Seminary. It used to be called the Lutheran Theological Seminary. It merged with another seminary, and I believe it's called now Union or United Seminary or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. Again, more of day one area. General Lee's headquarters is to the west here, which has been restored in the last couple of years to the way it looked at the time of the battle. Of course, Seminary Ridge, Reynolds Woods, and more of the features of day one of the battle. Heading back now to the square. This fancy looking building was at one time, I believe, a car dealership and maybe a service center. Also, there was a parking garage for the hotel that I mentioned had been where the 7-Eleven now sits. Now walk leading back to Lincoln Square. Christ Lutheran Church. Rather than talking about the significance, I'll show you this. Feel free to pause and read about what occurred here on the first day of the battle. The Adams County National Bank, it appears to be empty now. And lastly, we are going to head south down Baltimore Street. South end of Gettysburg figured more prominently in the second and third days of the battle. The first day of the battle wasn't so successful for the Union, so a lot more concentration on day 3 is what you might expect and what is in fact the case. It's another instance of how the town has changed over the last 40 years. This block, when I was a student, the facades are completely different. This featured a very large hardware store and a Woolworth. I didn't even realize that these were individual separate buildings, many of them. You can still see the tile entrances from when this was a Woolworths. Using an external mic that's supposed to be noise canceling to record this. It has malfunctioned at times, and it maybe is not the greatest quality, but tremendous road noise in Gettysburg, especially downtown. So I'm hoping, even if my voice isn't the greatest quality, it'll cancel out some of the excess traffic noise. Here we have the Adams County Courthouse. Again, the original courthouse was on Lincoln Square. This one was here at the time of the battle. As you can see by the placard, recent statue of Thaddeus Stevens, who figured prominently in the history of Gettysburg and Adams County. As we head south, Baltimore Street would split off onto what is called Steinware Avenue, which was also known to, at the time of the battle, as the Emmitsburg Road, also Taneytown Road. As we would head to the south, we would have the National Military Cemetery, Evergreen Cemetery of Cemetery Ridge fame, many of the Day 3 battle spots, the Round Tops, Pickett's Charge, Culp's Hill, and so forth. This 40 years ago, the south end of town was most of the tourist stuff. We used to call it, when I was a college student, we called it the Strip. From the square, this end of town was basically any small town that is a county seat. Little by little, as they're restoring the look of the town, the facades, and the battlefield, as much of the town as they can, to how it was at the time of the battle, the tourist industry is encroaching on much of the town. I don't live here now. I don't know if the residents think that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm sure anybody that wants to profit from it can. At any rate, on November 19th, Lincoln, as I mentioned, and I'll do a quick turnaround, stayed at the Wills House on the square, and they processed south here on Baltimore Street to the National Military Cemetery, stopping for a church service here at Gettysburg Presbyterian Church. I've never been inside there, but my understanding is Lincoln's pew is commemorated or notated. And now we're going to head back to the square. Adams County Library here. When I was in school, this was the post office. If you hear some clacking, I have a lapel mic, and it's very close to a necklace I'm wearing, and the clacking of the charms on the necklace might be picking up on the microphone. I don't know, but again, I'm using this setup to try to get rid of the as much of the traffic noise as I can. This is a pretty neat store. It has retro as well as not from America candies and soft drinks. Quite a block to get back to Lincoln Square. We're starting to wrap up here. Square, the Blue and the Gray Bar and Grill, which I believe it was originally called the Plaza. And then when I first started school here, it was kind of a dive bar called Billy Yank and Johnny Reb or something like that. Then they renovated it and it became the Plaza again. And now it is Blue and the Gray Bar and Grill. We are back at Lincoln Square in historic and scenic downtown Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. This has been my walking tour. Thank you as always for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, give a like, feel free to leave a comment. Thank you.